Hey guys, Mystic Eve here at Center of Mystic Arts in Costa Rica. This is a place where mystics come to recharge and study esoteric knowledge and information. Please check out the links below. I have a Patreon account where I describe a lot about the solar party that I talk about. And I put a lot of my writings in there, so check that out if you're interested. Today I'm going to be talking about an aspect in astrology. Actually, two or three. Anyway, they're the negative kind of aspects. We're talking about squares, we're talking about oppositions, we're talking about semi-squares, and any of these aspects that create a vibration that is a little disruptive. Nowadays, I hear these kids talking a lot about triggers and about being triggered. And, what are we supposed to do with these emotional feelings? I remember when it was first presented to me, I definitely knew all of the feelings that they were talking about. This is why I was a hermit. I stayed away from most people other than in my tattoo studio where I was free to do and say whatever I wanted. No filters there. But I knew that there were certain vibrations that I stayed away from. It's very much a physical feeling of tension for me personally. But these are the kinds of confrontations that happen when the subject gets intense. When two people are trying to converse and there is tension there. What are we supposed to do with this? Do we shy away from it? Like I did for many, many years. Like, screw all that business. I'd rather just not even be with you if there's going to be that much tension. But see, at the same time, I didn't. Why was I in toxic relationships for 20 years? Is it because maybe I liked this kind of confrontation? I always tell myself I hate to fight. I hate fighting. But boy, I won't back down from a fight. Once I'm there, let's do it. But through coma, I have realized that these squares and these confrontations are where we can find healing, where we practice our balance in these uncomfortable situations, where we practice what comes out of our vocal cords when in the middle of these confrontations. These are difficult relationships, ones that you get in fights in all the time. But this is also a relationship where, they call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, fucking who the fuck is calling me? But you still pick up the phone because you see his name and you're like, oh, what did he do now? So I'm going to ask the cards about these kinds of relationships, these relationships that test our patience, center, that test our brains, north, that test our grounds, south, east, and west. Let's see what we have going on in the center. It's the Ten of Diamonds, the one that Kendra wrote I love you on. These squares and oppositions and semi-squares, they should be revered. They should be looked for if you want to practice. To be able to navigate through a storm, you have to practice navigating through a storm. The best way to practice, and this card not only is the Ten of Diamonds, but now that it has been inscribed, I love you, on it, this has become a card of love. It's the totality of love. It's the 10 of perfected earth, diamonds. Being able to communicate constantly with love and understanding and balance is very important. So let's look at the north, what's in the air. And it's 6 of diamonds. Wow. Another earth, another diamond. And the 6 is such a magical number. It speaks of balance and beauty and perfection. It has a lot of magic in numerology, the 6 does. In the ether, the whole conversation is about beautifying our mind so that, I noticed in these situations where I start to feel that electrical current going up in my body, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. If there's nothing but beauty and love and compassion in my mind, then that's all that comes out. Coming from a place of love and knowing myself. When we speak of the mind here, being careful what comes out your mouth in these situations. So let's look at the south. What do we have that's grounding us in these situations? And it's the 5 of hearts, the 5 of cups. This 5 is such an in-between worlds. And our emotions. We have to ground our emotional body in beauty of the mind. If not, our emotional feelings, the water in our bodies, the vibration that changes our physical feelings will take over. And then, those fights where you're like, why the fuck did I say that? God, I shouldn't have said that. I've been in a lot of those. I've looked into that a lot. Being able to understand when to be very focused on what comes out. Being grounded in love and in our emotions. So in the east, coming up over the hill, we have Jack of Swords. The little boy with the sword. I mean, in a fight, who the fuck do you think you look like? Lord of the Flies, right? Like, you're just a kid screaming your power into the world. You're trying to conquer this world. Like, we all are. Like, it's not, like, we don't have to hide that fact. I'm here to get what I want out of this life, I'm just a kid holding a sword, wanting to play play the game wanting to win. Because who the hell plays the game unless you want to win it? That would just be kind of silly. This Jack of Swords is also practicing, you know. The practice yard in the medieval days, just getting out there and swinging that sword. And you practice with sticks instead of swords. It's an area that allows you to practice without getting severely hurt. Because, you know, like for instance, in a marriage, you can both be swinging those swords and not having any idea how to swing them and accidentally cut each other's freaking heads off. I mean, that's kind of like the Kali's story right there. All of a sudden, she realizes that she's killed her lover. So always conscious of this kid in the room. So in the West, at the end of the day, who are we looking at? This is the dragon card. It's also the magician card. At the end of the day, if you really want to be able to communicate with very opinionated people, I mean, my father was a lawyer, so I grew up being told that I needed to be able to debate with somebody that thought completely different from me. And I was never good at it because my body felt so emotional that I would just, you know, I have a lot of cancer in me. So, you know, I would avoid the situations, but I grew up with that being force-fed into me, into my brain. But in a sense, it's very true that I have found in my time at Coma, spending a lot more time with very sensitive magicians that are also very opinionated. I mean, they've spent lifetimes and lifetimes doing their shit for however long they've been doing it as well. We all have a very strong dragon in us. I mean, two, if you ask me, but, you know. At the end of the day, we are magicians, and we are riding the dragon. The dragon is not controlling us. I mean, hopefully. It's what we're practicing. Very similar to when I work the horses. I am practicing a lot of magic when I work the horses. There's a lot of patience involved. There's a lot of testing my tempers and the horses as well. But you can't ride a wild, untrained horse. He's going to buck you off. He's going to trample you. We must train our dragons. And you know, if you don't know how, you can watch that movie, How to Train a Dragon. They're really cute, adorable. And I also have a YouTube video about training your Kundalini snakes and the snakes turning into the dragons. So thank you so much for being interested and watching this video. Please don't forget to, you know, hit that thumbs up button, that subscribe button. It helps out. And check out the links below. So whether you're traveling mentally or physically, may it be in love and light. And don't forget that lube. That lube is going to help you get through all of these squares and oppositions and slide right on through. Ciao.